We're awaiting reaction from the White House after Qatar announced a deal has been reached to extend the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel 2 more days. Qatar's foreign minister writing, quote, "The state of Qatar announces as part of the ongoing mediation, an agreement has been reached to extend the humanitarian truce for an additional 2 days in the Gaza Strip." As you'll remember, 1 day meant 10 more hostages freed. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Fox and Friends first co-host Carly Shimkus, Fox News contributor and former State Department spokesperson under President Obama, Marie Harf, and Fox News contributor Raymond Arroyo. Well, the news of the extended ceasefire lifting hopes that more Hamas hostages would soon return home. It comes a day after the terrorist group released their first American hostage. Abigail Adan turned 4 years old while in Hamas captivity on Friday. During the October 7th attack, Abigail watched Hamas terrorists murder both of her parents. She was in her father's arm when he was shot dead by a Hamas gunman as he was trying to protect her. Her brother was in the closet. She crawled under her father's lifeless body, covered in his blood, trying to get to safety. But the terrorists found her when she fled to a neighbor's home and took Abigail, where she spent the last 7 weeks. Another hostage needed to be rushed to the hospital in critical condition after her release yesterday. Israeli doctors say 84-year-old Elma Avram suffered significant neglect by her Hamas captors. They're hoping they can stabilize her, but the risk to her life is serious. We are learning more about the horrors of what the hostages were forced to endure during their captivity. Relatives say their loved ones went days with very little food, were forced to sleep on plastic chairs, and spent over a month and a half in constant fear of being executed at any moment by their captors in those dark Hamas tunnels. Harris, on Friday, I spoke with Omer Louboutin-Grenote. His family was in captivity. The father was murdered. Oldest daughter was murdered. The 3 children and their mother in captivity. Praise God, they were released yesterday. But I want to play a little bit from Omer. Here's what he had to say before he knew they were on the list.
On October 7th, my cousin Khan became a hostage, a widow, and a bereaved mother on the same day. She was taken hostage with her 3 children, beautiful, happy, sport-loving, educated children. With Khan, she was a social worker. She was very devoted to her children. And her husband, Nadav, and their eldest daughter, Yam, was murdered in their house. The heart can't bear what they've been through. And we're eagerly waiting to see them back home.
I want to underscore what you just said. In a moment, she became a hostage, a widow, a bereaved mother. And the question becomes, does she even know it? Does she know that 2 of her family members are lost?
We don't know.
You know, part of the challenge is that, and I think about this with the youngest of the children, they witnessed a lot of what happened. And so many of them do know what happened with their loved ones. They may be in too much shock to even understand it. I always go back to 10-month-old Kafir. That is a little one that really resonated when we had the 2 artists who created those hostage posters on the Faulkner Focus. Now it's over a month ago. That little one was 10 months old. We keep saying that. Well, it's been 52 days. Yeah. And so that little one is going to turn 1. And there won't be that moment yet for that child to even realize a first birthday. And we don't know where exactly some of these people are. So you're seeing these children come out. They're in relatively good physical condition, but they're going to be the most resilient among them. And that's fantastic. At the same time, the psychological scars are hidden. The other thing that I worry about is the fact that Hamas is not the only group that's holding hostages now. So now you've got to do deals with several different groups. And I don't know what the relationship between Qatar and the Islamic Jihad is, but I hope it's as strong as it is with Hamas. And when I say that, then check the words that I'm saying, that someone has a strong relationship with hostage-taking serial killers. And it's the same place where the $6 billion that we parked for Iran is in their country. Look, let's just take a look at the big picture here. They released the statement, the state of Qatar announces. They are out front and center in all of this. Not to say that the United States and Israel and others have not been, well, obviously Israel, negotiating. but they're running out front. What is the end game for Qatar right now?
Yeah.
And if there are other groups to do business with, can we also have a seat at the table?
It's a great question, a great point about the other groups. And Marie, you know, we talk about it from a policy perspective, but if you think of the roller coaster that these families are on, knowing that last batch was being released today, finding out your family is not on it, picking up your phone and praying that your phone lights up, and then all of a sudden it's extended 2 days, which means 20 more, and praying they're among the next batch.
And waiting for those lists. I mean, we can't imagine what that feels like. And Harris, I'm so glad you brought up the mental toll this will take. We've talked a lot about these hostages being taken to hospitals, being looked at physically. This is going to have repercussions for these people and their families for the rest of their lives. And I think we need to remember that and keep that close to how we think of this. I'm also so glad you talked about the role of Qatar here. There are often no good options in the Middle East, right? There are no perfect options. And we are relying on Qatar that on some hand, you know, sometimes is an ally, is a partner. They've worked with us at times. And at other times, as you said, they have this incredibly close relationship with Hamas that before October 7th, many of us criticized, and today is coming in quite handy for the U.S. and for Israel as we're trying to negotiate for the release of these hostages. It is complicated, and I don't know what their end game is, but it's a good question, Harris.
Yeah, well, we also relied on the Taliban when we pulled out just in that horrific fashion that we did in Afghanistan. And you're right. I mean, it's the I don't want to call them a partner, but the necessity of the moment.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
scary.
But this underscores the weakness of the Biden administration's position.
Yeah.
We have receded from the Middle East. People can take potshots and question President Trump's approach. There was peace. We didn't have any hostages. We didn't have any attacks on Israel. The fact is, the bad guys were frightened enough to stay out of this game. Now we have a very dangerous game that's been employed here. And they know what many of us know. We are dealing now with a Biden administration, like the Obama administration before it, that is willing to negotiate with terrorists, pay terrorists, ransom if necessary, or try to buy their goodwill. And that's what's happening here. Watching the president the other day, I have to say, it kind of broke my heart. He came out, he seemed unsure, uncertain. It looked like he'd heard about this news, on the TV in the community room at the rest home. He was utterly perplexed. He doesn't seem to be fully engaged or in command of this situation. And the fact that Qatar is now driving the ship on this and these civilian lives hang in the balance, that's heartbreaking, and we need to reflect on it.
Carly, and I do want to update our viewers because we were sitting here Friday. We got the first names of the hostages, and I look down and I see Ohad, and we had talked about his birthday on the show. He celebrated his 9th birthday in captivity. There's little Ohad running to the arms of his father. I learned that in the hospital, he celebrated his 9th birthday with pizza and ice cream, even though it was in Hamas captivity. And we asked on Friday, I hope he has a Rubik's Cube waiting because he's a master at it. And I can tell our viewers he completed his Rubik's Cube there. You can see him with it in less than 1 minute.
Beautiful child right there. And I actually spoke to Ohad's cousin on Fox and Friends First this morning. And she talked about his birthday and the fact that he was told that he could bring like 2 friends to the hospital. And he was like, I can't choose. So they're like, fine. So he had like 9 or 10 friends. And it was a really great moment. And his mother was with him in captivity and apparently marked the days down on a piece of paper to keep track up until his birthday.
As moms do.
So they could celebrate the birthday in captivity. And I think that one of the silver linings in this horrific situation are the videos that we're seeing right now, right? Where of these hostages, once hostages, now reuniting with their families. And if you think about it, at the start of this war, the videos that went viral were the Hamas body camera videos of them being taken. And now the videos of the reunifications are the ones that are going viral. Steve Doocy also had a very interesting interview with the cousin of little Abigail. And a lot of people are very interested in the condition of these hostages. And she said Abigail was very hungry when she came back. She wasn't given a lot to eat, wasn't bathed often, but she was smiling. And that is a very good thing. The last thing I will say is that some of these hostages will have a story to tell. But another possibility has been raised that because a lot of these families have been separated, Hamas has kept husbands and mothers, that they may be too afraid to say what they have seen, because Hamas might have told them, you know, if you say what you saw, then we'll kill your loved one. So the psychological torture might continue for some of these people.
And including, to your point, Ohad's grandfather, who is still in captivity today. They kept family members behind. Harris, Roz and Aviv, who we also talked about on this show, we have images of them. They were released. Beautiful moment of reunifying with their father, Yoni. He was not captive, but the mother was, and so is Roz and Aviv. They're reunited. But all of these families, Yoni, the father you see there, Omer, who I spoke with, they all say, we're happy for my family, but it's about the others being held, and they will not give up and not stop speaking until the others are released.
I've been talking with, back to that psychological part that we were talking about, Marie, with doctors and experts who say that the survivor's guilt, even among with returning military men and women, like from Vietnam, for example, that survivor's guilt also is a reason why some of them may stay quiet. And you saw this after the Holocaust as well. I mean, this is a group of people per their faith that have been targeted for so very long, the pogroms. But there are other countries that are wrapped up in this as well. And so the whole world is being impacted, and that long-term psychological hurt is going to affect many of us for the rest of our lives, not just those who mourn those who don't come home or support those who do. It's our responsibility as a wider society now to remember where they are and to support them any way we can, to pray for the rest of the hostages.
Yes, and let's pray that 10-month-old Kafir is on the next list, his brother Ariel, his mom Shiri. More Outnumbered next.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.